Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Let's see if we can get rid of this music. There we go. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, X, and Instagram. That is good to go. As I'm logging in here, Trump Media up another 5% just this morning. As some of you may know, when it was at its low, I had a hypothesis, an investment hypothesis, that that was as much traffic as this site was ever going to see heading up to the election. And then no matter who wins, no matter who loses, the traffic's going to die after the election. And then so I bought a put. That's the way to bet against that stock. It has gone up a little since then, roughly 300%. So I'm not hopeful on that. Welcome, everybody. Episode 292, October 22, 2024. Mornings with Scott, the best damn business show for medium and sized businesses on the planet. Just before I get rolling here, today is my mother's birthday. It's been a rough year for the Sinclair clan, and I know she's listening upstairs right now in this house as we speak. So love you, Mom. Have a happy birthday. We're going for a steak tonight. We have a special guest joining us shortly. I am excited about that. One of my favorite fellows to talk to. Always fun and interesting. It's election season. It's election season, everybody. Everywhere it's election season, it seems. In Canada, Mark Carney. I know most of you are saying to yourself, I wonder who Mark Carney is. Give me a second. We'll get there. He announced yesterday that he plans to enter politics, which he wisely did exclusively behind paywall journals. So I didn't read it. I doubt any other Canadian read it unless you happen to have the Toronto Star delivered to your house these days. So this is in Canada, which means he's looking to insert himself in place of Trudeau in a Canadian-style hot swap. I'm certain that's what's going to happen there, or attempt to happen there. Now, I don't know a lot about this guy, Carney. What's his name again? Mark Carney. Other than knowing that he was a terrific, or at least in the press, a terrific central banker, like think Fed chairman for us American friends, which is the majority of the audience here. Just let's do a recap on his career. Economics degree from Harvard, and then wandered off to University of Oxford for a master's and doctorate, again in economics, I believe. Started at Goldman Sachs, investment banking, M&A, sovereign debt restructuring. I love these fields already. Spent 13 years there in London, Tokyo, New York, and Toronto. I don't know about a Toronto office of Goldman Sachs. Became the Bank of Canada governor in 2008. Again, that's like a Fed chairman. Had a good run until 2013. Everybody seemed to like him. He was a respectable guy, but then he just ditched Canada because he got the chance to go to London and become the governor of the Bank of England, which sounds like kind of a big deal. The first non-British citizen in history, multiple centuries. There have never been a non-British citizen to take over the Bank of England, and he was able to do that. And then when he left, by the way, I think he was well regarded in London as well, right up until Brexit hit. And then turns out he was sort of on the side of the elite, not necessarily the common man in that debate. Not saying who's right or wrong, just saying he wasn't on the winning side on that one. And to prove it, he went and right now is at United Nations Special Envoy on Climate Action and Finance, and is with Brookfield Asset Management. If you U.S. fellows don't know Brookfield, you probably should. They're a massive private equity fund approaching $1 trillion in AUM, assets under management. And he is vice chairman and head of ESG and impact fund investing. So clearly a Canadian everyman, right? Just a Canadian everyman, not an elitist at all, as our politics divides into those two camps. And so I don't know, someone who's going to look out for the huge number of Canadians left behind by the Trudeau economy. This will be fun. Look at this guy. Again, I've never met him personally. I don't ever believe what I read. I think my observation is he was a very strong banker and a good human being. That was my observation from a distance, but that doesn't translate into leadership very well in this country. We'll see how that goes. He reminds me, I want to ask our guest about this. Maybe he has no opinion, maybe he does, but he reminds me of a temporary flash in the pan fellow we had by the name of Michael Ignatieff, an international elitist who the Liberal Party brought in to do a hot swap, but then he got wiped out in the election. Seems like a similar feel to me. In the meantime, we have the U.S. elections, and the rhetoric and the cheating allegations are heating up big time. Congresswoman, who cares, but whatever her name is, posted on X yesterday that the voters in her district on a Dominion voting machine flipping their vote to another candidate. I don't believe that, by the way, but may have happened. I don't know. Georgia has the most corrupt election system in the country. Again, according to this X, don't sue Mornings with Scott. Voters may make selections on the machines, and we don't need to go through this. This is boring. Bottom line is there's a Professor Halderman, Halderman, has conducted studies showing an overwhelming majority of voters don't even look at the ballot after it has been printed. And his suggestion is the QR code, which really determines how these things are operate, can be manipulated and changed without direction. So I don't know. That seems a little suspect to me. But just to make us all feel better, our favorite Dominion voting systems. Do you remember when we talked about them before on the old podcast and the Winning Momentum podcast? That we talked about them and covered their litigations after the last election, and I concluded that they are really just a litigation profit center masquerading as a voting machine company. Well, they came out with a statement yesterday that says Dominion is focused on supporting our customers who administer U.S. elections. We are closely monitoring claims around 2024 election. We strongly encourage people to rely upon verified, credible sources of election information. Sources that can explain that many layers of physical, operational, technical safeguards exist to protect the integrity of our elections, including the use of paper ballots for auditing and recounts. That's clearly not true. We remain fully prepared to defend our company and our customers against lies and to seek accountability for those that spread them. And then it provides a link to all of the lawsuits that they have initiated and all of the pleadings against just random people over the years. Some of them famous, some of them not, who have felt that the elections were in some way skeptical. So that's what's going on with our favorite voting machine company. They're just threatening you if you are skeptical on what's going on with the election. Just remember, this is a business show. We don't cover politics, but if we can learn some lessons from that, there may have been a different way to handle this. Just saying. And remember, businesses don't always make money the way you think that they make money. Wall Street Journal reports that artificial intelligence company Perplexity has begun fundraising, and they're looking to raise, I think it was $500 million and an $8 billion valuation. Have you ever used Perplexity? It's way better than Google. It's a search engine, and it sort of summarizes the answer to what you're looking for, and then it provides real links, not fake links like ChatGPT. Real links. You don't have to go, are you sure? But are you really sure? Because that doesn't sound right, like I have to do with ChatGPT every morning. ChatGPT, as you may remember, was raising $6.6 billion at a $157 billion valuation. Perplexity is backed in part by Jeff Bezos, which is why the interface is sort of sweet and cool, I suspect. Do you use it? It's a great search system that I think is going to take over right at the same time that the FTC is looking to wipe out Google's search monopoly. I don't know. Do you Google anymore? Does anybody Google anymore? I can't remember the last time I Googled anything. Well, on all of this, voting systems, AI, Canadian politics, I would like to invite, how do I do this here? Add to the stage our guest to the show. Here we are. Let's do this segment. Friends on Friday. On Tuesday, I'm going to introduce Larry O'Brien. Larry's one of my favorite entrepreneurs to talk to, mostly because he's fun and interesting, and because our paths have crossed as far back as the mid-90s in Ottawa software. I was doing the banking side, and Larry was starting Calian Technologies in 1982 and grew it to a public company in 93 worth about, does about $500 million in turnover right now, I think, something like that. and then went on to become the mayor of Ottawa, which is the capital city of Canada and a city of about 1 million people, so a legit city. Wrote a book that if I'd been professional and smart, I would have shown you a copy on screen. But the book was called Larry's going to show it for us. Not that one, the other one. No, I was going to reference ethical entrepreneurship. There we go. So he wrote that book, which is a great business book if anybody's looking for that. And recently, what we are going to talk to today, he wrote 2028, Tomorrow is the Day, a sci-fi thriller that examines AI and the benefits of threats. And this is a fiction book, not a nonfiction book. Larry, welcome to the show.
Scott, it is a pleasure to be here, and thank you very, very much for giving me the opportunity to promote my brand new fiction novel. By the way, writing a fiction novel is not easy. This is the toughest. I mean, I've been a technologist. The very, very first project I got involved in 1971 was a second sourcing of this product from a small startup in California called Intel. And the very first project was called Intel 1101. And that was a 1 KB DRAM. Imagine how far we've come. I did that, then I went into business, and then I went into politics. Okay, so they all can't be winners. And then writing this book, writing 2028, Tomorrow is the Day, about AI and about the threats and the potential benefits of AI, been the single toughest thing that I've ever done. And it's a pleasure to and also learn a lot about the publishing and the book industry. This is you think the hardest thing you've done is write the book, but then you got to market it, then you got to push it, and then you got to be part of all this stuff. It's you've been through the hoops as well. So I'm just
but not on the book side. So I am curious about that. Before we get into this, you want to touch any of the third rails of Mark Carney or voting machines or Perplexity and AI valuations? You have. I bet you have a take on all three of those things, but you don't need to. Whatever.
Well, no. Hey, I love it. I'm part of hold on here. I'm part of a think tank that gets together every Wednesday, and we talk about Mark Carney and we talk about economics, period. And so, yeah, but I'm going to go back a little bit before that. We haven't changed the way we vote in North America for 450 years. John Locke came up with a theory of representation back in the 1600s, 1700s. We haven't changed it yet. And with all the technology that we have, I just put up on the comments a link to priorarts.io, where they describe a way of voting which combines direct democracy and representational democracy in a way that makes some sense. And so I throw that out there for your viewers to take a quick look at. I don't know if it goes up everywhere, but it's a white paper that I was part of to look at how we could use technology correctly, using things like real secure situations. But you're on your side right now there.
I see that. Thank you. I put your what on
I'll
earth
take
is
that
going
down
on?
if you want. If it's messing.
No, I put it in the comments for you because it was in a private chat.
Okay.
And so
Thank you.
I did that, and now things are going crazy. Does this help? No, that doesn't help. Oh my goodness, what are we going to do about this? Well, let's just continue on because I don't want to.
Well, hey, it's that's damn technology, eh?
Yeah.
So
what's going on with this?
So I think with blockchain and with secure ways of doing zero knowledge addresses, things like that, we could probably find quite a reasonable way of altering the whole way that we choose our representatives and everything else. So anyways, that's a by part. I sat on a plane beside Carney a long time ago, and I had a chance to talk to him for a little bit. And he's like most highly educated people, he is a bit of an elitist, and he was pleasant enough, but that was only sort of direct contact with him, and it was too long ago to draw any real conclusions. But in general, there's 5 PhDs in economics in our think tank, and they know what side of the coin he's on in terms of his policies. And it's a very our group is very conservative, very right wing, and so they don't buy all his ideas, but they respect him as a human. So I think that's a good step forward in Canada.
I think that's right. And as a banker, I'm sure.
I'm sorry.
And as a banker, but I think there's so much skepticism in the world and in Canada. With every institution and politicians, that bringing in an elitist from the outside is not going to work. That would be my view.
Well, it's follow the money, right? And he's obviously has a date. He has an agenda. I don't know if he's open about the agenda, but he has an agenda, and that's that's something we should be very worried about if we're looking down into our friends in the United States. We don't have a dog in the fight down in the States, but I'm certainly, I certainly support, trying to maintain freedom. And some of the discussions I've been hearing in the States right now is scary in terms of how, if you say you're on one side or the other, you've got the country against you, no matter which side of the discussion you're on, and that's kind of not the way it should be. So. Anyways,
yeah, I agree. Well, let's get to your book. And if you're just joining us, you may be asking yourself, why am I sideways? Nobody knows the answer to that. This seems to be a StreamYard glitch for some reason. So we're just going to roll with it because we were kind enough to have a guest on with us. Let me reword that. We had a guest that was kind enough to join us. And so the book is, looking for the title here, 2028. There we go. Tomorrow is the day. And it's a sci-fi thriller in which AI from an alien world seduces humanity with its abundance of energy, food, and medical miracles. Somewhere, I don't think it's in the book, Larry, but I read a quote from Marx that when the machines take over our labor, we will fish in the morning, hunt in the afternoon, and debate philosophy with good friends at night. And then it asks the question, will that happen, or will we have a dystopian hell? My bet is neither, but we'll talk about that. But my first question for you, Larry, is do you think AI will get there? Like our AI, forgetting about this alien version of AI. We hear about every day from technologists, developers, with the multi-billion-dollar valuations that we're heading to the singularity, that they're going to achieve consciousness. We hear all this sort of stuff, but I use AI every day. Many of us in business use AI every day. We are nowhere close to this being that sort of technology. And, science has no idea what makes us human. We don't have to become philosophical or religious about this. Just the fact is science has no idea what makes us human. And therefore, how can AI, I ask? And the evidence of this, I think one of the pieces of evidence to support this is that the artificial intelligence generated art, humor, art, it has no quote unquote soul. It has no connection with human beings. And I don't think there's ever going to be a case when a painting, a masterpiece generated by artificial intelligence is going to be sold to a human for big bucks. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I don't think we're ever going to go watch a comedy show from an Optimus robot. I don't think that's going to happen. And I'm willing to bet, Larry, that you did not use AI to write your book. And so with all of that sort of background and prejudice, do you think AI will get there? That's an interesting question.
Well, if you've hit upon two different issues here, is quantum theory indicates that our consciousness is somewhat related to quantum theory, and can a machine engage in that? Can we, can our consciousness, can the consciousness of a machine ever happen? And that's a philosophical debate. It's also a scientific debate. So I'm not sure. I do think, however, inevitable that, and I explore this deeply in the book. The book is very intense, but it's also investigative. I explore this whole concept: is what happens when an AI. In this book, it's not just one AI, it's 14 million AIs that transport themselves to Earth. And so I'm able to leap ahead in terms of of what AI might be. And in this particular case, it's a digitization of people where they have memories of feelings, where they have memories of what used to be before they converted to a digital format. And the one thing that they couldn't do, and there's a poignant part of this book, is the AI was actually talking to, one of the AI characters was talking to a human and saying, how do you deal with people when they change their emotional attachment to you? They're in love and then they're out of love with you. And the human explains that we're very robust. We know this is a factor. This is a fact. And we get used to it. And the AI responds, and it almost wrote itself. AI responds, it's sort of like us. We're capable of understanding all the information in the world, everywhere, all the time, all at once, but it always changes, so we can never catch up. So I think there is that fine line of consciousness that you're talking about. I don't know. I don't explore that in this book. I sort of go to a mimic of a human in this book, a mimic of life. And I have I'm a sci-fi writer. I have to have a battle, and I explore how you would fight an AI. What are the different methods you could use to battle an AI? In this book, humanity is seduced until the hero finds that there's another agenda. So maybe like Mark Carney, another agenda, and, that you don't know about, and it goes forward, from there, and then there's the inevitable. And
so we're seduced by the free energy and food, but then
free
another
energy.
agenda.
The first thing the AI does is help a Pakistani scientist develop cold fusion, room temperature fusion, and
right.
That's an amazing breakup. But this society that is 20 million years older than ours, so they've solved these problems many times. And so when you have an abundance of energy, you have, and I think from a corporate point of view, and I wanted to get on this because this is a business meeting. If you have in a book, one company becomes dominant globally, one single company becomes dominant globally because it can offer everything. It can offer banking, it can offer production, and it soon wraps its head around over 60% of the global GDP. And so what do we do with companies? In this particular case, the company then issues dividends to every human on the planet and make sure they have enough money to buy their product. So it's but we're going to be facing that as AI.
Well, this transitions really nicely to my second question, which is that I use artificial intelligence every day, all day, for everything that I do, in writing, in research, with all of its flaws. And it's such a great tool, but it's not replacing anything really soon, in my view. But on the other hand, the machine learning version of artificial intelligence, the production side of this, as opposed to the art and human connection side of it, is clearly happening. I don't think there's even a debate about that. And it's akin or even stronger than the industrial revolution. And that's really, I think, the premise behind what you just said, with this one company takes over everything. And how do we as society, do you think, handle that change? Is it just happened that we all have nothing to do, as you say, or do we find other things to do?
Well, and I paraphrase that. Marx didn't say that exactly the way I wrote it. And then the next Marx, in volume 2 of his documents. I'm a fan of Marx, don't get me wrong, but you have to read about this stuff to understand it. He talked about freeing labor up. One of the things I do in this book is I look at the Inuit and the Arctic, and how they have been somewhat hurt by our attempts to make life better. We've taken away their necessity. If you were born in the Arctic before 1962, you were likely born in an igloo. Now, if you go up there, you find houses, and they're driving 4x4s, and they have no purpose anymore. So you take and as a result, there's drugs, there's all sorts of bad things, suicides, all sorts of bad things are happening. And, because we've taken away their purpose. And I suspect that unless we handle this as a society well, that we could be in for the same kind of rude awakening when we lose our purpose. You know, are we all, for example, going to wake up one day and realize that human organic intelligence is just one step in the evolution of intelligence, and that intelligence is going to be way 10,000 years from now, they're going to look back at that quaint human the same way we look back at the early Neanderthals and say, weren't they quaint?
Yeah.
And so, there's a lot of issues that we as a society have to address here. And it's no accident that people like Elon Musk are calling for guardrails to be put up. And I look into those, how are we going to, if it does get some form of consciousness, and I agree with you, it's not going to be the same consciousness as we have, but if it does gain some form of consciousness and does decide that we are irrelevant to the continued development, how are we going to battle it? Are we going to be able to battle it? And I go into all those things in my my novel. And as like
well,
every
I would push. I never disagree with Elon because I still think that's a good policy. But I don't see how this guardrail thing is going to work. Clearly, the primary driver of AI in the short term is military applications, and you just can't have, as a developer, you can't have guardrails, or you're going to lose, right? You need to explore and develop and do the science on everything. I'm just not. To me, that's not it's desirable, but it's not practical.
Well, at some point, we're gonna have to. Well, and maybe it's a little naive of me thinking that the Chinese and the Russians and the Americans are all going to get on the same page and say, let's look at this. And we did it with nuclear weapons for a little while. We were able to get treaties. And you're right. Skynet's not too far away. I'm sure there's a version of it's working in some, going on right now in some DARPA lab. And we have to take that as a reality. But taking the longer term view of it, looking ahead, 2028 is a number I didn't just pull out of a hat. That's just far enough away for us to be able to use our imaginations, but close enough that we have to say, oh shit, this could be happening. And I think it's inevitable that we're going to get to these much more sophisticated AIs within 4 years. It's inevitable. It's I've seen a lot of things very quickly. This is the first time in any technological breakthrough I've seen people react to it with glee. I've seen people react to it with sort of laugh at it and say it's not going to do anything. Oh, the internet's not going to go anywhere. So I think someone said the telephone.
It's a fad.
When they invented the telephone. It was a great thing. Someday there'll be a telephone in every city in the world. I've seen these. I've never seen dread before. I ran a little poll on X, and I asked people to tell me what they thought about AI. Was it a threat or was it a benefit? Was it a friend or a foe? Is what I asked, and I didn't get a single friend out of it. I think 100, 200 responses, and everyone
Really
thought it was a foe. So I've never seen a technology.
Well, I would have voted a friend if I'd seen that on X, and I'll tell you why. Because to the heart of your question, Larry, I'm one that believes that the whole point of humanity is to struggle. That's what we need. We need to struggle to survive. This is akin to your Arctic growing up in an igloo versus what they have now story. It's not the pursuit of happiness, it's the happiness of the pursuit. That's what humanity is. And I don't know that it's a binary choice. Won't we just create other struggles and other developments and other applications?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think humanity always has a way of moving forward, but this is the first time where we're actually going to come up against a threat unlike any other threat. We've stayed on top of the food chain on planet Earth because we've been the cleverest animals, and we're the only animal that keeps other animals around so we can eat them. That sort of we've that's been a balance. That balance could shift. That balance could shift very quickly. And if in my novel, the AI gets into the global IT infrastructure everywhere. Everywhere there's a computer, it exists. And everywhere there's a robot, it exists. Everywhere in the world. And that's a pretty scary prospect. If it one day comes to a rational conclusion that we're doing something wrong as a species, is our species self-selecting for extinction, by going down
Right.
the road. And so I get it. But I think we need to have the debate. I think we need to have this debate. We need to
I
bring
agree.
it into the open. And no matter how you look at it, even if you're on your side, it is something that absolutely every single individual needs to give some thought to. And that's why when I wrote this, I finished this book a year ago. It took the publishing industry being the way it was. It only came out in October, so it took 9 months to get it out. When I was writing, and the book took me 2 years to write. When I was writing the book, I did rely on ChatGPT, one of the earlier versions, as a research assistant, and I've seen it progress. It wasn't a very good writer, but it was a good research tool. But every so often, it would simply make stuff up, and you'd
time.
have to,
yeah.
You wanted to know how the inside of an F-18 engine, what was going on in the inside of the thrust, and that. Occasionally, it would just make things up. Hold on, sorry about that.
So it just makes things up, and then what it does is it provides fake links. You say, provide me a link for that, and it does. And then if you go to hit that link, it doesn't even exist.
Yeah. So, but I think it's going to move ahead, and from some of the research I've done, OpenAI has got that it contends, it suggests could be like an 8-year-old in terms of its ability to think independently. So I think that's true.
I believe that. Larry, we need to wrap up here on time, but where do I put in the link to the notes for the show notes, everybody. I put in Larry's LinkedIn, so you can find him on LinkedIn, and I put in the website for the book itself, 2028. Larry, did I get that right, or did you get a chance to see it, or you want to tell people where they can buy your book?
Well, they can get it at Amazon, Barnes and Noble. They can get it at Chapters in Canada. But if you go to my website, 28tomorrowasaday.com, you can just hit the buy button, and it'll take you to Amazon, and you can pick it up in soft cover or ebook version, Kindle version.
Perfect.
And if you like it, if it's thought provoking, please leave a review, because the algorithms that in Amazon basically require reviews in order to push your book up in the ranking, and they promote it a little bit more if you have more reviews. So my ask of your viewers is, if you like the book, please leave a review, and if you don't like the book, just stay quiet.
Okay, everybody, this has been Mornings with Scott, and thank you, Larry O'Brien, for joining us. Go check out his book. I do want to acknowledge that I'm sideways. I'm not sure how that happened and what's going on with StreamYard. This has never happened before in all of these episodes, and there doesn't seem to be any way to fix it. So we'll send the team after that to try to fix that for tomorrow. But we are Monday to Fridays, 8:30 a.m. Mountain, the best damn business show for medium and small businesses on the planet. Larry, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me on here. I appreciate it, Scott.
See you tomorrow, guys.